Hello! You read the title. We're talking about the fastest street legal motorcycles. No nerd stuff like scooters, mini bikes, or ADV content, just a tried and true fast boy video that you've come to expect from Yami Noob. And for the viewers who had to take remedial English in high school, please reference the title one more time, Street Legal Motorcycles. That means no Kawasaki H2R. Can already see the comments now, but Yami, the H2R makes 1,000 horsepower and has a top speed of 500 miles per hour. How's it not on this list? Because it's not street legal, dude. For the sake of today's video, let's stay grounded in the real world and leave the H2R in the fairy tale world known as the racetrack. When's the last time you even saw an H2R on the street anyways? Also, the metrics for speed are measured in a handful of different ways. Horsepower, top speed, 0 to 60 time, drag coefficient, so on and so forth, in order to make this video actually enjoyable to watch and not just a listing of arbitrary numerical values. We'll keep it simple and look at bikes based off their power figures and ranked by power to weight ratio. Also, we'll be sticking to bikes that are still in production. That means I'm talking to you, Grandpa. We all know your VMAX rips, but just give it a rest already. Today's video is brought to you by our favorite website, shop.yaminoob.co. We'll talk more about what you can find over there later on in the show, but before we get started, click the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our new videos coming out. I guess if we're ranking these from lowest to highest power weight ratio, we should count backwards. The motorcycle in the number 10 spot in the list today is the Turbo... Nope, not Turbo. It's the Suzuki Hayabusa. It's almost easy to forget that these motorcycles come from the factory without a turbocharger. No wonder the Hayabusa finds itself in the lowest rank on the list today. In the 2022 model year, the Hayabusa makes 190 horsepower and 110 foot-pounds of torque with a top speed of 194 miles per hour. This power comes from the Busa's almighty 1340cc inline 4-cylinder engine, weighing at 582 pounds wet and ready to ride. The Hayabusa is an absolute unit of a motorcycle that any beginner rider can easily grow into. What was once regarded as the biggest and baddest, the Hayabusa has secured its place in the motorcycling world for its bulbous relic, known equally for its cringeworthy fan base as it is for its performance. It's as if Suzuki themselves recognizes the mimetic prowess of the Busa as half of the marketing material equates to sentiments such as, well, it's a Hayabusa. I mean, look at the kanji. We put the kanji on the dash so when you turn the key on. The Hayabusa has a special place in the hearts of many motorcycle fast boys, including myself, but would I buy a brand new one from the dealership for $18,799? Likely not. And with a power-to-weight ratio of 0.32 horsepower per pound, it is actually the slowest of our 10 fastest bikes, but it does make a pretty good sound. Take a listen. The next bike on our list, number 9 spot, is another big bad Japanese inline 4, the Kawasaki Ninja ZX14R. The ZX14 has had its own share of superbike acclaim, once being regarded as the quarter-mile king, a moniker still used by Kawasaki today. It is the descendant of Kawasaki's long-running line of high-performance inline 4 motorcycles, soon to be, if not already overshadowed by the supercharged H2. The ZX14R still deserves a spot on this list, not only for its high-performance capability, but as a victory lap to celebrate its legacy in the glory days of gargantuan inline 4-cylinder bikes. This bike has a seriously portly 1441cc engine that is making 208 horsepower and 113 foot-pounds of torque. It weighs 598 pounds, so not unlike the Busa, it could likely benefit from a turbo kit to see some really hardcore power gains. The ZX14R has already been slashed from the European and Asian markets due to stricter emissions regulations, so pour out some monster energy for the big Ninja because its days in the US are likely ticking away as well. Unless Kawi gives it the Suzuki treatment and continues to stick with bold new graphics each year, as it stands, this could be its final form. The ZX14R has a power-to-weight ratio of 0.35 horsepower to pounds, making it only slightly sportier than the Busa while being nowhere near as meme-worthy. The ZX14R also costs $15,599. Let's take a listen. I know I said this list was going to be only fast boy bikes, gas-guzzling sport bikes, but I gotta call them like I see them. The next bike is a fitting entry to mention after touching on the end times for the preposterously large inline 4 bikes like the ZX14R. I'm talking about the Lightning LS218. Yes, an electric motorcycle. But remember, we're only here talking about speed, not convenience or reliability or any other factors that plague electric bikes right now. Lightning claims their LS218 to be the fastest production motorcycle available due to its top speed of 218 miles per hour. It makes 200 horsepower from the direct drive hamster wheel and a claimed 168 foot-pounds of torque. Weighing 495 pounds, it has a power-to-weight ratio of 0.4 horsepower per pound. It has a fully adjustable suspension, Brembo brakes, and multiple upgradable battery pack options in case you have a small fortune burning a hole in your pocket. No question it's a fast bike, but with a 100-mile range at highway speed, I'm not sure how far you're going to make it going 218 miles per hour. Base price for the LS218 is $38,888. Let's hear how it sounds. Guys, orders on shop.yamaha.co are blowing up right now. We've got entry-level gear, experienced rider gear, anything you want, we've got it over there. Make sure you go to shop.yamaha.co and get yourself hooked up for this riding season. The bike in the number 7 spot on the list is the venerable Kawasaki H2. After years of being dunked on by literally anyone who doesn't ride a Kawasaki, Kawi knew they had to push the envelope to avoid falling into an obscurity like a certain yellow competitor. And like a phoenix rising from a pile of empty Monster Energy cans, Kawasaki went full sicko mode with the Ninja H2. The Ninja H2 has a 998cc inline-4 with a supercharger equipped from the factory. Let's just give a quick little applause for forced induction there from the factory. It makes a ridiculous 228 horsepower and 105 foot-pounds of torque while weighing in at 529 pounds, giving it a power-to-weight ratio of 0.43. The H2 is a far more contemporary package than the boomer missiles like the Hayabusa and the ZX-14R and embodies the work smarter, not harder mentality. Why jam a whole extra Ninja 400 worth of CCs into the engine when we can slap a supercharger on it and call it good? This bike comes with all the latest superbike farkles such as a TFT dash, an up and down quick shifter, electronic rider aids. The H2 is such a cool bike. We had the hyper naked ZH2 in the shop for a while and it was an absolute blast. The ZH2 cost $30,500, but that supercharger flutter is worth every penny. Number 6 on our list is the Yamaha YZF R1. I feel like the R1 is the least exotic bike on this list so far, with no ridiculously large engine, no factory supercharger, but it is deserving of a spot all the same. The R1 features a 998cc inline-4 with the famous cross-plane crank that gives it the iconic exhaust note. It makes 200 horsepower and 79 foot-pounds of torque while weighing in only 448 pounds. With that low curb weight, the R1 has a power-to-weight ratio of 0.45, making it a good segue to the next half of our list of high-performing, lightweight supersport motorcycles. While the R1 has been an industry leader for a long time, it unfortunately cannot make it further than up the half of our list based solely on the fact that we have some serious rippers coming up. But honestly, the R1 has some of the best value for how much performance you can get for your dollar. Its base MSRP is $17,599 and it sounds the absolute business. We're in the second half of our list now, where all motorcycles are making over 200 horsepower and are likely going to cost you quite a few euros if you catch my drift. The motorcycle in number 5 spot on our list is the BMW S1000RR. The S1000RR is a pretty quick motorcycle, making 205 horsepower and 83 foot-pounds of torque from its 999cc inline-4 engine. It weighs a mere 434 pounds, giving it a power-to-weight ratio of 0.47. It's not fast enough to be in the number 1 spot, but trust me, if we're ranking the most annoying riders, the S1000RR would get first place. We get it, you can afford to own that bike because your dad got you a job at his finance firm, but trust me, the S1000RR is not going to get you the recognition you never got from your classmates at private school. You better just go into the boardroom, turn the lights low, grab a bottle of Jergens, and log on to the S1000RR owners subreddit. The BMW S1000RR costs $16,995 in its base trim, but that price pales in comparison to the cost of friendships lost after becoming a BMW simp. Let's hear how it sounds. Hey Ducatistas, you can cool it in the comments section. I've got your precious pasta rocket right here. The motorcycle in number 4 spot is the Ducati Pangale V4. The Panigale has an 1103cc V4 engine and is literally the best motorcycle you can buy for the track or the streets, according to people who should not be granted unsupervised internet access. What job do you have that pays you well enough to own a Ducati, allows you endless time to leave YouTube comments all day, and only necessitates an IQ of 65? There's no punchline, I really just want to know. The Pangale V4 makes 210 horsepower and 90.6 foot-pounds of Totino's pizza rolls. I was going to be generous and round up to 91 foot-pounds, but I figured that would trigger someone into not being accurate enough. The V4 weighs just 436 pounds in running condition, giving it a power-to-weight ratio of 0.48 horsepower per pound. That is actually tied for the next bike on the list, but because I just love the haters, I didn't want the Pangale to crack the top 3. There's no question this is an amazing motorcycle. I just wish the fanboys were produced with the same level of care and attention to detail as the motorcycles themselves. The Pangale V4 in the base trim costs $23,295. Let's take a listen. We're nearing the end. You've made it to the top 3. The next motorcycle on our list is the Honda CBR 1000 RRR Fireblade. In case you weren't able to tell by all the R's in the name, this is a race bike. It's not a cruiser, it's not a dual sport, it's not a Grom. Honda wants to make it very clear this is a race bike. It has a 999cc inline 4 that makes 215 horsepower and 83 foot-pounds of torgos. The Fireblade weighs in at 443 pounds, giving it a power-to-weight ratio of 0.48 horsepower per pound. To put this all into perspective of how ungodly fast these motorcycles are, a Tesla Model S Plaid is considered to be one of the fastest production cars available and has a power-to-weight ratio of 0.21. Yeah. We had a Fireblade in the shop last year, and aside from temporarily breaking the ECU, we had a great time with it. While they haven't sold as many Fireblades as they have Super Cubs, Honda has a rich history of racing pedigree that comes all to fruition with this motorcycle. The Honda CBR RRR Fireblade has a base MSRP of $28,500. And let me tell you right now, other than the Turbo Hayabusa and the RSV4 that I rode on track, this is the fastest bike I have ever ridden. The Fireblade is truly ridiculous. Take a listen. Speaking of which, number 2 on the list, the second fastest bike, is the Aprilia RSV4. The RSV4 is a true S-rank super bike. While it has a recently revamped 1099cc V4 engine that makes 217 horsepower and 92 foot-pounds of torque, while weighing in at only 445 pounds. For the sake of our list, it has a power-to-weight ratio of 0.49 horsepower per pound. The RSV4 is a premium exotic motorcycle that has plenty of tech and high-end components that make the 217 horses a breeze to handle. The base model comes in at just $18,999, which is really a bargain for such a high-performing premium motorcycle, which is good because then you'll have enough money left over to buy a Japanese bike to ride while your Aprilia is at the shop. I had the chance to ride a fully prepped RSV4 at Eagles Canyon Raceway, and let me tell you, that thing ripped like nobody's business. It was the fastest bike I've ever been on, probably. Take a listen. It sounded amazing. The last and final fastest motorcycle on our list is the Ducati Superleggera V4. See, Ducatistas, it was all a charade. Get you hot and bothered with the Pangale and then hit you with the Superleggera when you least expect it. This motorcycle is fast as I don't know why it is even street legal. I'm not sure what mere mortals have done to deserve such a bespoke piece of craftsmanship. Limited to 500 models, the Superleggera has a 998cc V4 that makes 224 horsepower and 85.6 foot-pounds of torque. If you were to choose the optional race kit exhaust, it would be making 234 horsepower and 87.7 foot-pounds of torque. I'm not sure how the race kit affects its street legalness, but that sounds more like a conversation to be had between you and your god. The Superleggera cost $100,000. Yes, $100,000. So like the cost of an entire house in the Midwest in the middle of nowhere. This motorcycle has more carbon fiber components than a Boeing 787, leading to its incredible lightweight. With the racing kit, because come on, who would not go full zoot on their Superleggera, this bike only weighs 336 pounds dry, so wet, that's probably like 370 pounds or so. So that's about as much as my race prep Daytona weighs with like double the horsepower. That's insane. Either way, this motorcycle is fast as it has the highest power-to-weight ratio of any production motorcycle at 0.59 horsepower per pound. It is insane. If you enjoyed this video, please take a second to subscribe and click the notification bell so you can catch the next one while it is still hot. Oh yeah, let's take a listen to the Superleggera before I let y'all go. Fact: Japan has 23 vending machines per capita. That means per person, in case you didn't know. Goodbye. Keep watching Yami Noob!